Hi everyone, it's Lindy on here from Pink Whisper Designs. Today we're going to be creating a see-through acetate card. And if you've never made one of these before, you're really going to enjoy this. These are so much fun and they're so easy to create. So let's go ahead and get started. So for our focal image today, we're going to be using this cute little couple. This is from Art Impressions and it's called Love Thing. So let's go ahead and place this on our mini MISTI stamp positioner, and then I'm using my Versafine Onyx black ink to do my stamping. And I've got my STAMPendable stamp press, so I can go ahead and press this out. Now let's go ahead and do some coloring. I'm using the Zig Clean Color Real Brush pens to do my coloring, and I'll be using the Zig Blender pen to do my blending. And I'm starting off with the pale rose. And I'll be listing all the colors we're using in that upper left-hand corner as we go along. And also keep in mind that all of the products I'm using today are listed and linked down below and also on my blog. So I thought it would be really fun today to create this see-through card. And we're going to be using clouds to kind of tie everything together. We'll be sandwiching that acetate between the clouds so that the front panel of our card will basically be the clouds at the top and the bottom, and then that acetate in between. And I'll show you a few tips and tricks for hiding the adhesive when we do this. And this is really easy to put together, but I think the results are just so pretty and so much fun. There's so many different images you could use in this way. So kind of look through any images you have. It would be fun to put maybe clouds at the top and a grassy border at the bottom, or possibly a sunshine at the top and some grass at the bottom, or some snow. So just kind of take a look at what images you have and what dyes you have, and you can have some fun putting this together. You can see for the face, I started with the sugared almond pink on the cheeks, and then I've switched over to that flesh color, and I'm just adding a little bit of that to the face and to the arms and legs here. Now let's go to the haze blue. I wanted to keep his shirt fairly light, so I'm just going to take that haze blue and blend it out just a little bit, just to give it a little shadow of that blue. And what's fun with all the clothes on these Art Impressions images, the girlfriends, and on some of these little couples, is really fun to add to the clothing. Later on, we'll be adding some stripes to his sweater and some polka dots to her dress. But you could certainly do some paper piecing here, where you would stamp this onto some pattern paper and then cut out those little pieces. You could cut out the dress separately out of maybe some plaid or polka dot paper, cut out his sweater out of some pattern paper. So that's another approach for these. It's really fun. If you like to do some detail fussy cutting, that's a really fun way to go about some of these images. Now here I've got the smoky teal, and I'm going to give his little sweater that smoky teal color. And for her little jacket, I used just the light gray just to add a little shadowing and to keep it mostly white. And the paper I'm using is the Strathmore Bristol Smooth 100-pound cardstock. I do find that for myself that is the best paper to use when using your Zig Clean Color Real Brush pens. It just blends so easily. I always say it keeps that ink kind of floating up on top of the paper, so it's really easy to blend it out. And if you get too much color on your image, you can just pick it up off the paper and scribble it onto your scrap paper. And to clean off that blender as you're going along, you just want to scribble it onto your scrap paper until it goes clear, and then you're good to switch to your next color. Now for his pants, I'm going to add a little shadow off to the left-hand side, and then I'll just pull that across. Now later on, we'll also add a few little highlights using a white gel pen. So if you don't get your highlighting perfectly, done here, you can always add a little highlight with your white gel pen. It's just an easy little quick trick that makes everything pop out a little bit more. And for all of the chocolates, I'm using the combination of the oatmeal and the mid brown. And then for a little bit of color on those candies, I'm using the deep red. Now I'm also going to use that deep red for the bench. I just wanted to make that pop out a little bit. You could certainly use a wood tone here, but I really wanted that red to pop. So I'm going to use that on the bench, and I'll just add some shadows kind of off to the side and underneath each of those little bars, and then pull that up towards the top. And again there, I'm just removing some of that ink. You just want to grab it off your cardstock and scribble it onto your scrap paper. And then for the metal on the base of this little bench, I'm using the gray brown. And to add more shadows, just go in and add a little bit more of that same color. You could certainly use 2 or 3 colors to do your blending, but here I'm just going to use the one and then just add more layers of that color for some shadowing. And for that box, I'm using a little bit of light gray just for a few shadows. So now that we have this cute little couple all colored in, I'm going to use my detail scissors to cut this out, and I'll leave a little white border all the way around. This set does not come with the coordinating dies, but it's really quick and easy to cut this out. Now here's where I'm going to grab that gel pen as I mentioned earlier, and I'll add some stripes to his little sweater. And this is the Signo white gel pen. And then for her little dress, I'm just going to add some little polka dots. But you could add some little flowers here, some stripes and polka dots, whatever you want to do. This is where it's really fun to get creative with adding some detail. And then I did decide to add a little highlight to his pants off to the right-hand side. So you can take a closer look at that. Now for my card base, I'm going to start off with a piece of Strathmore Bristol Smooth cardstock that measures 11 inches by 4¼ inches, and I'm scoring it at 5½ inches. So that's just to get started here. Now I'm grabbing some beautiful stitched clouds that I have from the Lawn Fawn collection, but you could certainly use any clouds that you have. I'm going to grab this largest one, and I'm placing it up towards the top of the card. That'll be the cloud that's at the very top of our acetate see-through card. So I'm taping that with a little bit of Post-it tape, and then what I want to do is just cut from that score line down, and I'll show you how to do that here. I've got my Spellbinders Platinum 6 die cutting machine. We're cutting from that score line to the right, so you want to place the plate just where you want to cut. So I'm placing the plate from the score line over to the right hand side. I'll run that through the die cutting machine, and again that will only cut everything to the right hand side, and you can see that there. So that gives us our cloud at the very top of our card. Now we will need a cloud for the bottom of the card, so I'm going to use the other side of that remaining cardstock. I'll line this cloud die up at the very bottom, and then I'm going to run that through again. So now we have the clouds for the top and the bottom of our card, and then that acetate will go in the middle. But we also need a few additional clouds, so I'm going to grab that medium and small cloud, and I'm going to cut some extra clouds. I'm going to cut a few more of the large ones as well. So here I've got a little stack of clouds. So next, let's do a little bit of stenciling. This is a cloudy stencil from Lawn Fawn, and I'm going to place this on my Wendy Vecchi Make Art station. And so I'm going to just use those magnets to hold that in place. And I want to mask off that top cloud there. So I'm going to just place some of that Post-it tape right along that score line. And then I've got my cloudy stencil. And I'm using the Stormy Sky Distress Oxide ink from Tim Holtz. And I'm using a Hero Arts blending brush to do my blending. So I'm going to grab that ink. I like to kind of pounce it onto my stencil first and then push it up over the top of the stencil. And I like to get some light and dark areas. And then with this stencil, you can just rotate it. It's got 4 different sides on it, so I'm just going to rotate it each time and create a nice random pattern of clouds. So I'll continue doing this all the way down. Now when I got to the end, what I did was just kind of finished off that edge with a little bit of, I brushed on a little bit of ink there. Now I've got my Falling Heart stencils from Fawn. This is a 2-part stencil, but we're just going to use one of these. So I'm grabbing that top one. I'll just place that on my Wendy Vecchi Make Art Station. And I'll use that same ink we used before, that Stormy Sky. I just want this to blend in, just kind of that little bit of falling hearts in the background. So I'll go ahead and stencil that all the way down to the bottom. And then I can remove that stencil and you'll see that those beautiful hearts. So now let's remove that Post-it tape and you can see how pretty that background is going to be. So for the sentiment, I'm going back to that stamp set, the original stamp set that we started with, and I'm going to stamp that sentiment on this top cloud. And that is going to say, "It's a love thing," which I just think is so cute. When I saw this little couple having these candies, I don't know, just made me think they looked like they were in heaven enjoying these candies, and that just made me think of it floating on clouds. So that's kind of where I started with this idea. So I've got a piece of acetate. That's also from the Fawn pack of acetate. And it's a nice heavyweight acetate. And I cut a piece 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 that will fit right on the front of our card. And now when we add the adhesive onto the cloud to attach the acetate, that adhesive is going to show. So I'm just tracing out that front cloud with a pencil, and then I'm going to cut away any excess, and that will get lined up on the inside of our card. So I'm just trimming away the excess, and now I can go ahead and glue that acetate in up at the top. So I've got some Fawn 1/4 inch double-sided tape. I'm going to place that right along the edge of that score line up towards the top. And then I'll just cut away any excess. Now I can go ahead and remove the backing, and then I'll line up the acetate again right with the front of the card, and then I can just fold that cloud down and attach these two together. Just using that bone folder to press that out really well. And now I've got that cloud that we traced and cut out that will match this one, so I can go ahead and attach this. So I'll do the same thing here, just adding a little bit of tape right across above that score line. And you do want to trim away any that will show towards the front, so just trim that back. And now I can go ahead and attach this cloud. Now you'll see that I did decide to add a little adhesive, tuck a little adhesive on the bottoms of each of those clouds. So I'm going to just get that positioned, and then I'm going to grab some Nuvo Deluxe adhesive. I could have used the tape here. I just didn't think of it while I was doing this. So I'm going to add a little dot of glue there and on the inside as well, just to hold that down. So now we've got the cloud for the bottom. We're going to do the same thing. We're going to add that tape. And here you'll see I did decide to add a little bit more tape so that I won't have to add the glue this time. But at first I want to trace out a second cloud just like we did before that matches this one on the front. That will hide the adhesive on the inside of the card. So I'm going to go ahead and use my Tim Holtz paper trimmer to trim that down. You could certainly use your scissors here. So let's go ahead and attach that front piece. And again, you'll see I'm using a little bit more tape this time. We'll go ahead and remove the backing from that tape and then line that up right at the very bottom of the acetate. And let's do the same thing for this piece on the inside. And that is going to really nicely hide any adhesive that we have. So again, I'll remove the backing and then line that up. So that's the front of our card. So we've got a nice secure front of the card with the acetate and the two clouds. So let's go ahead and add a few clouds to the inside of the card. So I'm using that medium-sized cloud that we cut out, and I do want that to go off the edge a little bit, so I'll glue two of these medium ones down at the bottom. So at this point, just kind of mix and match your clouds, whatever design you like the best. I'm just setting a little base there for my little couple to sit on. And then now that those are dry, I can go ahead and cut away any excess. And then I'll add a few more clouds kind of in the middle of the card so you can see those when you look through the front of the card. And there's that little tiny cloud. And then I'm going to add a little cloud to the front of the card. Now keep in mind that's going to show through. I'm going to pop that up. I'm using some 3D foam tape. And I'm just going to put a little tape on the left-hand side and then a little bit of glue on the right here just so it lays nice and flat. And then keep in mind that I will need a cloud for the inside to match up with that cloud that I used on the front of the card. Again, we just want to hide any adhesive. So I'll put a little bit more of that 1/4 inch double-sided tape on that. And then we'll go ahead and line that up. So keep in mind, whatever you put on the front, you want to make sure you have a matching image for the inside of your card. So let's place another little cloud, I guess up here towards the top right, and I'll just position that down flat. Now I can cut away any excess. So let's go ahead and glue down the little couple. I've put plenty of glue on that so it lays nice and flat. And again, they're just kind of floating on the clouds, just enjoying their chocolates. So I thought it looked a little bit bare and I wanted to add a few more of those falling hearts. So what I'm going to do is just mask off a few of these, some of the larger and smaller ones, and then I'll just add those here and there. So I'm just, again, I use the Post-it tape to mask off a heart, and then I'll just add a few to these clouds just to finish this off. So let's take a closer look at the finished card. And what's nice here is you've got a cute sentiment that coordinates so well with this little image. And this would make a great Valentine card or a great anniversary card. So I really hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, please hit the like button and subscribe. And don't forget to hit that notification bell so that you don't miss a single video. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you all have a great day. Take care. Bye-bye.